What's going on, everybody? This is Blaine Sumner here, 2016 IPF Super Heavyweight World Champion. Going to talk a little bit today about my transition from raw powerlifting to equipped powerlifting. I got into powerlifting back full-time in 2012. I played college football up through 2011 and always lifted for fun, for football. Football was always my main focus, but did heavy squats, heavy benches during that time. So 2011-12 is kind of when I made my full transition towards powerlifting full-time. I had always lifted, for football, like I said, which is raw. You don't use suits, shirts, train for football. First couple years, I did both raw and equipped powerlifting at the same time. Heavily favored raw lifting more though. I won the first 2012 IPF World Championships that were raw in 2012 in Stockholm, Sweden. And that same year I did the Equipped World Championships, as the IPF calls it, the Open World Championships, and I got 6th place. It was frustrating to me because at that time I knew I was the strongest guy on the platform there at the Open World Championships, and ended up getting 6th place. Like most people who didn't really understand the gear, I kind of blamed it on the gear, hated the gear, said this is bull crap, cheating. Then I kind of had a revelation moment where I'm like, in the IPF, the best guys in the world were all lifting equipped. And I had won the first Raw World Championship. I had all the Raw World records and didn't have much competition, was killing it there. And I was like, there's these absolute monsters lifting equipped in the open division, IPF Worlds. You had guys like Karl Ingvar Christensen, Viktor Testov, Andrei Konovalov from Russia, Svistanov from Ukraine, all these absolute monsters from the Czech, Poland, everywhere. And I was like, I know I'm as strong as these guys. They just kicked my butt at Worlds. I want to challenge myself. I want to go down this path that's going to be harder. It's going to beat my body up more. Training sessions are going to be longer, but I want to see what I can do and push myself and chase these guys. So that transition kind of happened 2012, 2013. I still did raw meets, a few raw meets a year in 2013, 2014, 2015. And my focus was kind of divided. I started to lean a little bit more towards the equipped stuff, but I still did Raw Worlds in 2015. Got 2nd place there. Had some hip injuries in 2012, 2013, where I tore my hip labrums. And that kind of took my raw mojo, my raw squat mojo away back then. So when I would put the squat suit on, I'd have no pain, very minimal to no pain. So, more and more of my training was starting to happen in the suit because it'd keep my hips healthy. Shoulder problems on the bench press, using the shirt, kept my shoulders healthy. So it was kind of a slow transition, but I felt like I couldn't be the best in the world at raw and equipped at the same time. 2015, I did both raw and equipped World Championships. I got 2nd at each. Both of them came down to the 3rd deadlift. If I'd gotten my 3rd deadlift at each of those meets, I'd have won the Worlds. So I really realized at that time, I was like, I need to pick one. There was these monsters in the equipped division that I really wanted to chase. In the raw side, I'd beaten everybody that I'd ever wanted to. I'd had the world records that I wanted to get. At the end of 2015, I had the raw squat world record, total raw world record, and said, I can keep bouncing back and forth and never be as good as I want to be at each of them. So at end of 2015, when I got the squat and total world records back, raw, I decided I'm at least temporarily retiring from raw powerlifting. I'm going to push that to the side, not put as much emphasis, not as much focus in my training on my raw lifts, and really focus on this equipped stuff. Really put my care, my desire, my passion, motivation into getting better at the equipment. Fast forward to March 2016 at the Arnold, I broke the highest ever squat in the IPF, the highest ever bench press in the IPF, the highest ever total in the IPF, and the highest ever Wilks. And really that came from putting my raw stuff aside, focusing on the equipment. A lot of people, especially new to powerlifting, don't really understand the gear. There's been a lot of controversy with multi-ply lifting, single-ply lifting, raw lifting. On the IPF level, it's to the untrained eye, a raw lift and a single-ply lift almost look the same. The rules are the same. You got to squat to depth. You got to pause the bar on your chest in the bench press. It's very aesthetically pleasing to the eye still. One of the common notions about equipped lifting is that the gear does all the work for you, the equipment does all the work for you. It really couldn't be further from the truth. I used to be on that same train of thought when I was heavy into the raw lifting because I was frustrated and I didn't understand it. Then I got into it and I truly understood, well, doing, squatting 1,100 pounds in a squat suit, it still takes a 900, 950 pound raw squat strength, but in addition to that, it takes another 100, 150 pounds of technical proficiency. People like to talk about strength as a skill, and raw lifting only kind of touches the surface of how skilled a sport of powerlifting can be. When you add the gear, it's a completely new element. The training gets more complicated, your technique gets more complicated. Raw powerlifting, there's only so much you can kind of tell your body to do under heavy load. With equipment, you can try different techniques. The training sessions are a lot longer. Joint-wise, my body feels better. My hips feel better. Knees are much better. Shoulders are better. It wears on your skin. It's tough on your CNS, your central nervous system, under that heavy load. But it's a lot more fun. It's much more of an adrenaline rush. Raw powerlifting on an opener, say you get out of the groove, your technique's off, you can still fight through and muscle it up. Equipped powerlifting, if you make a small mistake, a small error, you're out of your groove, you won't even come close to hitting an opener. So equipped lifting reminds me a lot more of NASCAR, compared to a slower race. You got bigger engines, you got the gear, the numbers are bigger. It's more. I get a much bigger adrenaline rush when I'm stepping under 1,100 pounds in a squat suit, just fighting for my life, because it feels like a life or death situation, as opposed to squatting mid-nines raw. Same with the bench press. I've hit some 915 pound bench presses to one board in training in the bench shirt, and I can't even compare it to a raw bench press anymore. It's so hard to get amped up raw benching 500 something pounds when you used to hold 900 pounds over your face. So on the surface, there's the same sport. We're squatting, bench pressing, deadlifting, but the training gets more complicated with the gear. You need to peak differently, you need to taper differently, and then your choice of assistance movement changes too. The equipment doesn't just give you strength. No one can just jump in a squat suit or bench shirt and lift more weight. You need to learn to use it, but your strength curve changes too. So if you're a raw lifter and you miss a squat at the bottom, you get used to a squat suit, you might miss a squat now halfway up. Sometimes it's even opposite. Some people will have a lower sticking point in gear than they do raw. And so depending on where your sticking point is, raw versus equipped, it changes your accessory movements. So if I'm trying to work on my lockout in the bench, because my equipment, now all my accessory movements are going to move towards top end stuff instead of a raw bench where I'm missing closer to the bottom. So it's definitely possible to do both. I did both for many years and was successful. In 2015, I got second place at the Open and Raw Worlds. Missed winning by my last deadlift on each. So it's for sure possible to do both. If you want to be the best in the world at either of them, people have like Sergey Fedosenko from Russia. He kills the equipped and raw at the same time. So obviously it can be done, but to get to the very highest level, I know for myself personally, I needed to put less priority, less emphasis on my raw lifting, focus on the equipped lifting. And for me, what the future holds, I'm not quite sure. All of 2016, I didn't do any raw meets. Really wanted to focus on winning my first Open World Championship, which I did in November. And 2017 is the year for the World Games in IPF, which is the pinnacle of our sport. It happens every 4 years. It's going to be at the end of July in Wrocław, Poland, and it's a huge event. I've seen the footage and the lifts from previous World Games, and it's an unimaginable experience. So really my goal is to win that. That's an equipped competition, so all my focus and energy is focused on winning that this year in 2017. And after that, I'm not too sure what the future holds, but stick around and you guys will see soon.
Grind Sports Nutrition is committed to providing athletes with the highest quality supplements to fuel their training. Grind products are designed by Renaissance Periodization and contain only ingredients and dosages with substantial bodies of evidence to support their effectiveness. No fluff or fillers. Get on your grind, because your success is earned, not given.